Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Health Talk. I am your host, Dr. Niru Prasad, with my background in pediatrics and emergency medicine, associated with Henry Ford Health System, St. Joe, Oakland, and Beaumont. The theme of our health talk today is mental illness and gun violence among our adolescents in our community and all around the states. As we all know, there has been a lot of gun violence shooting recently, and looking at all those, I thought I will gather some information. I did some researches on these topics, and I'm going to share my work, my manuscript, and the slide presentation with all of you. The topic is psychological and social factors. What do they play with the adolescent school shooting? This is my websites, and if anybody wants to know about more detail, if anybody wants to come to my health talk, I will be very happy to invite my guest speakers on my show. Next slide, please. So, introduction. What is the gun violence? The gun violence, this has become the 21st century public health crisis. There has been so many figures and statistics going on. There is in United States 43% increase in the gun-related deaths, which is suicide or crime. 2020 has been the worst year for this, gun violence and suicide. And there has been so much uprise of the mass shooting, especially at the schools, at the grocery stores, and all over. This is defined as what is mass shooting? The definition of mass shooting is defined as 3 or more victims, not including the shooter. Act is premeditated, but it's not a part of organized crime or other strategic motive. And especially 2022 so far has been a bad year for the school shootings. Next slide, please. So here I have put some data for you. The blue area covers where has it been more shootings going on. Like July 4th of July parade, Chicago. Age of the shooter, 20. Oxford High School, November 30. Age of the shooter, 15. Again, grocery store at Buffalo, age 18. 5/24/22, Rob's Elementary School. This is the shooter age was 18, and there were 21 victims there. Sandy Hook Elementary School, Connecticut, shooters age 20, victims 26. So for us to know, February 14, back down the road, Stoneman, Parkland, Florida, age of shooters 19. There has been many more, but the attention is mostly focused on the elementary school shooting at the Texas, because these kids were very young. They are the elementary school children, and 21 of them had been involved. Next slide, please. So what happens? I just want to talk about the Oxford school shooting, since we are in Michigan. And I know personally a couple of my friends' children were affected in that shooting. And right now they are seeking for the mental health services because of the uprising depression. The recent school shooting, Oxford High School, November 30, 15-year-old student who was there already. And this has attracted the attention of everybody all over the United States. The school officials met with the parents on the day of shooting, and a plan of action was proposed because he had some abnormal behaviors. It was decided to keep the student in the school. An hour later, the student locked himself into the bathroom, changed, and then started with the shooting spray. This is such a sad incident. The student and his parents were all arrested and are being tried for. Next, shoot. So now I wanted to look into the statistic. Firearm is one of the leading cause of death among our children, age 5 to 14 years, adolescent and college student. Before it was motor vehicle accidents, but now this one has superseded the motor vehicle accidents. Next slide, please. So now, as we know, who are the shooters and what are the different type of shooters? And I did a lot of reading and looked through the previous articles that has been published by the scientists all over the world. What are the different types of shooters? This is a long, slow process. The contributing factors can include dysfunction in the family, poverty, physical and sexual abuse, substance abuse. So there are two kinds, psychopathic and psychotic shooters. The psychopathic shooters they are someone who are lonely, apathetic, they are not able to relate to others, they lack empathy, they have no respect for law and regulation. And once they are loners, they are thinking about all these acts, it comes through their mind. Psychotic shooters, one step further, basically the same, however they are more depressed, they might be hallucinating, they might have one or two friends, might have schizophrenia. So the psychotic shooters mostly suffer from hallucination, paranoid delusions, and delusion of grandeur. Next slide, please. So what are the factors that lead to school shootings? Several factors are the factors that lead to school shooting. Unemployment among the parents, poverty, a dysfunctional family background, substance abuse problem, radicalization through social media, and at the end I have included the underdeveloped neurologic structures in them, and I will talk to you in detail later on. Next slide, please. So, are there higher level of demographic factors common between the shooters? Age plays an important, significant role. 69% of the school shooters are within 10 to 19 year old. 15% are the perpetrators are between 20 to 29. Family, 2/3 of the shooters are from two parents' family. School system, 41% of the shooters are mostly average or above average students and supposed to be in good students. Next slide, please. So mental health and emotional dysfunction, very important for us to know. 87% of the perpetrators were found to be victims of severe bullying. 98% have been found to have experienced some kind of personal social loss. 78% of school shooters have had a history of suicidal attempts ideation, indicating a significant association between committing a school shooting and the mental illness. 34% of the perpetrators received mental health care prior to their attack, and only 17% were formally diagnosed. Many symptoms of depression have been common in the shooters, along with the narcissistic tendency, use of certain psychological patterns which are indicative of more extreme thinking, including the rationalization of extreme action. In order to gain attention overall, they might have the suicidal thoughts and talk about this, about the shooting. Next slide, please. So what are the pattern and the hypothesis patterns? There is a high prevalence of bullying among our students, especially middle school and the high school. High prevalence of significant personal loss, like loss of the parents or loss of a close relatives or of a caretakers. Many visible signs of depression they show, and there has been a minimal treatment for them for mental condition. So hypothesis, poor adolescent mental health is a strong cause of school shootings. Next slide, please. How does social media affect the child and the adolescent brain? Very important to know. Social media has become a very important issue for parents to setting expectation early, talking about it, modeling a good behavior to the children. Social media plays a powerful role in connecting with the people, exploring the digital world. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, they all play a significant role among students, teenagers, male and juvenile. The researchers have provided the fact that many youngsters, they feel better with their depression, suicidal thought, and violent behavior once they start sharing these thoughts with their family and the friends. Next slide, please. So the impact of social media and mental health, self-esteem. Learn to model self-confidence, doing selfie talk, curbing your own negative thoughts, making a big difference to the teens, building their self-confidence. Download a self-confidence kit on your phone or the computer, which helps bringing them in self-confidence. Next slide, please. So there are 7 ways a parents can protect children from social media. Next slide, please. First of all, keep an eye on how much time your child is spending online. Ensure it is not interfering with their activities such as socializing, exercise, schooling, eating, and sleeping habits. Next, please. Consider bans on all the devices at the meal time. Take them away an hour before the bedtime. Do not let children, the youngster, charge devices in their rooms. Next slide. Talk regularly to the children as a parent about what they do online, what post they have made that day, and who they are friends with, and how it is affecting their mood. Next slide, please. With the younger children, always have access to their password to regularly check the content and see what they have been doing. Remember Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok bar for children under 13 should always have a parental signing accounts. Encourage children to use the internet for creative things, helping with the homework, making their own own contents. Lastly, getting your own account, following your children to monitor their activity plays a significant role with the social media out. Next slide, please. So what is the role of media? Millions of Americans of all ages are engaged daily with social media. The few kids who are already on the edge of possible mental illness, if they get more involved with the media, they can be pulled towards violent behavior just with a click. Use and abuse. I have summarized what are the uses and what are the abuses for our viewers. The use is keep in contact with the family and friends, allow us to make new friends and find new community. Let us make vital connections if we are remote community. Provides a vehicle for creativity and reason, and also connect us with the resource. Abuse, link between heavy social media, depression, loneliness, self-harm and suicidal thought. Access to the social media through a smartphone, which causes sleeplessness, impulsive behavior and more. While children and adolescent brain are still developing, it is difficult to predict consequences of getting connected with the wrong kind of people. Next slide, please. So what are the role of teachers, school administration? The school staff monitor abnormal behavior, erratic behavior like bullying, interest in weapons, and excess posting on social media. Next slide, please. So how do you prevent? A multidisciplinary team within the school, training on threat assessment, proper discipline for all the middle and high school students, and looking at the child's context are some of the strategies out that teachers can share. A recent updated school shooting report is on hweek.org. These are the bibliography that I have mentioned. According to them, there has been approximately 30 school shootings, 22 of which occurred after August 1st. Next slide, please. How to fight a mass shooting? According to the statistic, the mass shooters are current or former students from the school. Majority of them are mentally disturbed, depressed, and inspired by their friends, other shooters. They typically obtain guns from their family and friends. Next slide, please. So role of the parental guidance. Again, parenting in the day of mobile phone texting is a lot harder than in the old days. But these innovations are here to stay, as we must adopt and continue to guide our children towards a better education, strong family values, high character, and strong motivation. I would like to remind my audience that my perspective when I was writing my article is from years of clinical and personal experience. My clinical experiences from working at the different emergency room, walk-in clinics, pediatrics, and more. The bottom line is, after having said all that, I always advise our parents, children, patient, caretaker to always follow up with their pediatrician and the family practitioner as needed. Next slide, please. So these are the, I have obtained, these are the bibliography where I have obtained all my information provided to you, and I like to thank all of you for viewing in on my health talk, the topic being the mental impact of the patients on mass shooters. And thank you again. I like to thank our viewers. I like to thank our producer. And I like to thank everybody for watching my show. Wish them a safe summer. And the topic, mental illness and gun violence. Thank you again.